Welcome in. It's PHNX Cardinals live on a Monday. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Brack. This is your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Pick up a free hat and or t-shirt every single year. You are a diehard. I'm diehard for this chat today. Boston Ford. The podcast keeps me pumped in the offseason. Let's go. Let's go, Brack. Let's go.
Let's effing do it. Reezy, baby. How about Big 12 Devils? Goffy from Oz in the member Discord already dropping some tasty little mock drafts. Only way you can get in that conversation that's going on 24/7 become a diehard today. It's been fun already. Like every Monday, it's just you got a fresh new set of mock drafts, and we're starting to see some of the NFL draft experts drop some tasty ones tomorrow. Mel Kiper Jr. dropping his 1.0. Can't wait to see it. Already seeing with a little bit of a Mel Kiper bomb at 2, Johnny. He's going with Jayden Daniels to the Commanders instead of Drake May. They left 3 and 4 out of the conversation with Field Yates today on his Fantasy Focus podcast. But I would only assume that the New England Patriots can't help themselves with one ACC North Carolina quarterback at 3, leaving, as we've seen in many mock drafts, Marvin Harrison Jr. just right there for the selecting of the Arizona Cardinals. It would be nice. But what is truly nice here on this Monday and Saturday after the national nightmare finally came to an end. The bleeding stopped. And CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans and crew, what a great uplifting story. That horror story finally came to a close. They finally killed Michael Myers. Michael Myers finally was killed. He's not coming back to life. He's dead.
Until Monty Ossenford trades back again this year with Houston, and we have to relive it all in 2025. No, it's over. The Arizona Cardinals, if you didn't know, it's in the show title. They are picking 27th overall with the Houston pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. Not what we thought. We thought we were going to be gifted 2 top 10 picks, maybe 2 top 5 picks. Instead, Cardinals are going 4, and they're going to go 27. And again, I think we've all had our period to digest, certainly to absorb the impact of CJ Stroud and company having a historic rookie season. Very commendable. I read an excerpt on our audio-only podcast I encourage everybody to check out that dropped this morning. That basically was like the Houston Texans, while a great story, didn't face basically an elite quarterback all year. They were gifted a lot of below average, and it showed. Like they were able to spurn off, I think, like after starting 0-2, they finished like 12-6 or something like that. And a lot of that was a byproduct of their division and the conference that they played in. So we're not taking anything away from them, but it definitely feels semi-fraudulent, and the Cardinals are going to pay the price in the form of the 27th overall pick. All right, now that we have the disclaimer out of the way, we've absorbed it. Cardinals are picking 27. I'm going to ask you, Bo Brock, my co-host, where does your mind go to? Pick 27 today. Where does it go to?
The player specifically, or should they stick and pick? Should they trade down? The first
thing that pops into your mind when you hear the Cardinals are picking 27th, what comes to your mind?
Bummer. What a bummer, man.
Seriously?
I had such high hopes for this pick.
Okay.
And here it is at 27. It's a fringe first round pick, but it is still a first round pick.
It still counts.
Look, it does still count, right? And now I'm thinking stick and pick is the right direction to go. Agreed. For Monty Ossenfort and crew.
You and I touched on it again in yesterday's pod. I'll reiterate it here. I don't know if there's a player that's going to become available, and things change, that is worth flipping a first rounder at this time for. No one knew once upon a time DeAndre Hopkins was available, Stephon Diggs was available, and maybe something like that emerges over the coming months, and the Cardinals do decide to flip the pick. I did tell you yesterday, I think with where this pick lays or falls, and I know he was in the thumbnail, and we love Jordan Morgan out of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that rather this pick being 21, 22, 23, I think now very much in the tail end, the last 5 picks of the first round, I think it very much opens it up to a defensive player. I think we've reached that kind of crescendo. There were some mock drafts that dropped today. We're going to talk about a bunch of them. The tackles are going early and often. And I think right now, the Cardinals, you're going to be picking from, if you take a receiver at 4, which almost feels like a precursor to everything else, you're going to be picking from maybe the 6th or 7th best tackle, or the 2nd or 3rd best defensive lineman, or the 3rd or 4th best corner. And I think that's going to be too enticing. I think 27 right now, today, end of January, is going to be a defensive player for the Cardinals.
Look, it should be. I mean, when you look at where the offense finished and where the defense finished, I put it out there that over the final 2 games, I think over their final 16 drives, the Arizona Cardinals offense had just 1 3 and out. So 15 to 16, they were moving the ball consistently. They were putting up points. They were putting their team. I mean, they rallied their team past the Philly Eagles on the road, and they should have beaten the Seattle Seahawks if it weren't Matt Prater, going Anders Carlson for the Packers against the Niners, or Bass for the Buffalo Bills, and missing a kick that was crucial and would have won you the football game. It was their offense it feels way close, light years closer than their defense. Their defense, I think, was put in a position call wise to be as competitive as possible. But, pound for pound, they were fighting way above their weight class. They just, when you looked at the offenses that they were facing and the personnel that they were putting out there, outside of a Jalen Thompson and a Budda Baker, and when he was healthy, Kazir White, there were guys that really you would be hard pressed to say that they were legitimate NFL caliber starting players.
Well said. And again, like I see some pushback in the chat, get a tackle. What are we going to do with Paris? I see somebody, we need a left guard. Bo and I think, are of the same mindset. We don't agree on everything. Certainly, if you tune into this podcast, by the way, drop a like. This is not a stereotypical end of the first round pick for other teams. These teams that consistently pick at the end of the first round, you can take a non-premium position. I don't think the Cardinals can. I think it's got to be an impact defender at either somebody who can rush the passer, defensive tackle included, or an edge rusher or a corner. You can do tackle there. But again, like, how much is that going to be watered down? I think there's going to be a high enough defender on their board that's going to be worthy of pick 27. And to your point, listen, that I would say the defense overachieved at times this year. It's not going to show in the statistics because there were some ugly games with some gaudy point totals that are going to skew it. But from a game-to-game standpoint, I don't remember too many like consistent 2 to 3 game spans where the defense was terrible. Like, you would typically get a game like San Francisco where you just didn't have the horses to contend. Then you'd bounce back against Pittsburgh, right? You'd look good against Seattle, both times, I would argue. Like, there were games where I'm like, how are they even competing defensively? So I think Nick Rallis, Jonathan Gannon should be commended, and they should be rewarded. Now, all of this is a big asterisk to what are they doing for agency. If they come out and they open the checkbook in the month of March, which we expect them to do, and they spend $50+ million in guarantees on 5-6 guys, then it's like, okay, maybe this isn't such a priority. But there are so many needs as compared to where the offense sits. We can sit here and definitively say wide receiver, maybe 2, tackle guard, and you feel good about everything else. The defense, it's the flip of the script. It's Budda, Jalen, Kazir, and then what else do you have?
I mean, you look up and down this defense, and you got guys that you can fit into a rotation that can be depth guys currently on the roster as it stands right now. Outside of, as we mentioned, Budda and JT, and like if you slide a Starling Thomas or you slide a Keitrell Clark as depth guys, man, do they look a lot better and really get the true ability to develop, in an NFL system, but not being thrown to the flames. Like, I think that if you can get somebody that can, like, in the free agency is such a big part is, as you mentioned, like if they are able to accomplish what you've been reportedly told, as you have it sourced, that they want to address the front 7 and they want to address outside corner position, that if they can get a true vet corner that can come in there and, like, I think LJ Snead from the Chiefs might be, dreaming and a guy like Jalen Johnson. But if you look at the next guys like Stevie Nelson's of the world, and you get one of those vet guys that just knows how to do it, he's got the full, seen it all, knows all the angles, a full bag of tricks, and can help develop this young room. And then you add, a corner potentially with 27, or, you add somebody like a Burns or a Chase Young. Chase Young didn't look great against the Packers on Saturday.
He's just not very good.
Right. But if you get somebody that can really is a talented pass rusher, and then you couple, whether it's the interior of the defensive line or another edge, like, man, things look drastically different and look incredibly better as far as the defense goes as a whole.
I got tipped off by something else over the weekend. I'll share it with everybody now. That I believe their first major signing of free agency is going to be on the defensive line. Now things can change depending on who's available. Like, their pass rush / defensive line group is so poor in terms of high-end NFL talent. Whereas I think they feel like the corner market is going to come to them, if that makes sense. Like, guys on 1 to 3 year deals that are going to be able to help them, but you don't need to sign those guys day one of free agency. So I expect right now, here in late January, the first significant signing or signings will all be on the defensive line. Like, pass rusher, defensive tackles, some kind of combination. I know people want Jalen Johnson, the kid you just mentioned out of Kansas City. Like, the Cardinals would love them on their roster, but what are they doing if you don't have the infrastructure? Like, Kansas City's got Chris Jones. They've got George Karlaftis. The Chicago Bears traded for Montez Sweat. They had good defensive linemen already. Like, it starts up front, and they know that you can't compete in the NFC West with San Francisco, and now the Rams have a vaunted running game, without a pass rush, without people to push on and make Brock Purdy and Matthew Stafford. You don't think that Ossenford, Rollis, and Gannon know Purdy is susceptible to pressure, Stafford's susceptible to pressure, Geno Smith or whomever Seattle. I mean, they're not facing the Kyler Murrays of the world. Thankfully, they're not facing the Mahomes or Josh Allen. They need to find a way to supplement a pass rush. That's going to be priority one, I'm told, in free agency.
Man, I can't even look at you right now. You're a superstar getting that kind of information and then sharing it with us.
On this show.
You're a beautiful man. You're a beautiful man. You're a man of the people. Cheers. You deliver the news that they want. Yes. Cheers to you as well, my man.
I'm gonna drink alone. Have a little coffee, a little caffeine.
I got a little water. I want to do coffee afternoon.
You're not alone, brother. I'm drinking coffee too.
Damn dog.
Also, and I are just grinders. Yeah. We grind.
Yeah. That's why you guys are up at 11. I'm snoozing. I'm snoozing at night, and while you guys are just grinding away on Twitter, Damon's talking his shit, and you're getting the insight. And I'm looking at it like, Justin Matabuke, come on down, playing in the AFC Championship game. Love to see him. From the Baltimore Ravens, as you mentioned, probably priced out in as far as the age of Chris Jones, but I mean, Christian Wilkins, somebody you identified, Leonard Williams, somebody else you identified. I mean, any one of those guys immediately comes in, you join them, you couple them with Dante Stills, maybe a day 2, day 3 defensive lineman. Now the Cardinals have an NFL caliber defensive line, just like that. They utilize their assets, not a ton of assets, not a ton of cap space, not a ton of draft capital, and they get it going. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I'm optimistic. They got to execute. And here's the one thing that we haven't seen from Austin Ford. The recruitment free agency hasn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. And that takes 2 to tango. And most of that is typically done with what, Bo? Guaranteed money. But you also got to be able to weed your way through. And this is what they've articulated, Michael Bidwell. Like, we can't have NFLPA grades that embarrass us, Mike. Can you help us out there?
Yeah.
Can you make this appealing for people and their families to want to come play here? And they're working on that. But we have not seen, I know we've pivoted hard from pick 27, but I think it all ties back together.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be able to land these big fish. Like, you got to be able to sell other free agents. And number one, this is a fun place to play. You're going to get paid a lot of money, and that we're on an upward trajectory. I think Gannon himself has ingratiated himself throughout the league based on, number one, how much the Cardinals competed this year, and 2, how much Philadelphia was left for dead, a dumpster fire, after he and Shane Steichen left. I think those will be good recruiting pitches.
Yeah. I mean, you see Philly, they're bringing in Ron Rivera to interview him for the defense. Congrats. Okay, cool. But no, I mean, this is also how it ties back to 27, right? I mean, if you go out there and you sign a guy to a big guaranteed dollar deal, that fifth-year option becomes very important, because if you're able to lock in somebody, a young player, a starting caliber player at a premium position, you've got them on your roster for 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Very controllable and very cost effective at those positions. I mean, that's why it's important. And I think that's why you start to kind of look at, how the draft dominoes could fall, and everybody's, wanting, Jerzon Newton, who's more like in the teens. Like if he's there, yeah, you have that conversation, but like you were realistically looking at like, both the tackles out of Pac-12 from Washington State. You're looking at some corners there, like whether it's a Kool-Aid, whether it's a Kenyon Mitchell out of Toledo, who's kind of a fast riser. You're looking at tackle, you're looking at edge, you're looking at cornerback. And I think that if you do that, like on top of the free agent signings, like with 27, that's where the value remains as far as pulling off this deal with Houston, back in the first round of last year's draft.
Back-to-back super chats from our guy Danny Redbirds, both for $4.99. Thank you so much, Danny. Let's Hollywood Brown this 27 pick. How about let's DeAndre Hopkins this 27th pick? But yeah, I got what you mean. Get us an established stud. What do you think? Is there a free agent or Chandler Jones this pick? Is there a free agent out there that's sexy enough? Excuse me, not a free agent, someone looking to get out of their spot. Man, that's the $1 million question. I have not identified that player yet, Danny. We'll know more after guys are and aren't franchise tagged.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it's like Josh Allen and Brian Burns are the two that immediately come to mind. And there they are, trade targets from our guy Damon Dog, producer extraordinaire. But like we've gone through this process, like T. Higgins is not a target right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like T. Higgins coming off an underwhelming year for his standards, the Cardinals destined to take a receiver at 4. Feel pretty confident that that's not happening. Derek Brown, to your point, Bo Brock, like, is that a piece that number one, Carolina wants to part with? And number two, do the Cardinals covet a defensive lineman enough to do that? So then it's Josh Allen, the pass rusher from Jacksonville, and Carolina's Brian Burns. You will have to be so convinced if you do that number one, that you can sign them to an extension, and number two, that they are that superior to the guys that hit the open market that you're willing to part with a first.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you this. Like now that we have the benefit of hindsight, was Hollywood Brown flipping him for the 23rd overall pick? Was it a smart move?
No.
Yeah, it wasn't. And I mean, you can add to a couple more names to this list just based off speculation and based of how some of these players have acted and overreacted after their team's final game was played, like AJ Brown. Probably not, right? I think Philly's going to try to mend that bridge a little bit.
That one's 50-50, I think,
right?
at this point. Mm-hmm.
You got Stephon Diggs, who, he was.
I mean, that's probably been worth it.
You think that's worth it?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a number one. They could have taken if you compare it to the
here's the
Justin
thing.
Jefferson.
Here's the thing, and that's where 4 comes into play, right? A little 4 play for PHNX Cardinals. Wow.
Tremendous.
I mean, if it's not Marvin, it's probably Malik, right? As
Correct.
far as why wouldn't I would much rather the Arizona Cardinals take Malik Neighbors 4th overall than get into trade discussions for really any of these guys who are making a huge amount of money that have, significant red flags. And like, I think it goes against everything Monty Ossenfort said over a year ago today, saying that this is going to be egoist team. I mean, I know you're not going to be able to really flush out all egos from a National Football League team. But like, these are guys that have proven that a lot of it's about them.
Receivers not in play to trade for, at least not for a first-round pick. And why everybody, who is trying to trade their receiver? People who want to draft receivers because this class is loaded. Like there are teams that are like, yeah, I'd love to recap an asset so I can go and partake in this receiver pool. The Cardinals don't need to mess with that. They've got 12, 13 picks to go and draft their own receivers. And it's not Steve Keim making the pick. So hopefully they do it right. But again, it's basically going to be, are you trading the 27th pick for a pass rusher? That's the conversation now. Is there one worthy of taking at 27? I don't know. Like we don't have the answer to that yet. But what happens if there is one available and you balk at that, and then the free agent market dries up real quick? Guys are franchised, guys are extended internally. I mean, you're gonna have to sit on that and figure that out. Here's what I will say though. I believe this Cardinal roster is playoff bound in 2024. but are they ahead of schedule enough to trade and extend a pass rusher that is in their peak years? I don't know if they've gotten that grace yet. Typically, those moves are safe for teams that feel like they're a piece or two away, right? Like the Cardinals traded for Chandler Jones because they thought 2015 NFC Championship game, we can't pressure the quarterback. They trade for Chandler Jones. 2019 into 2020, they needed a number one receiver for D-Hop. Like the Cardinals are picking fourth for a reason, and they need everything. So if they have 2-1s in 2025, I think it's much more likely. I think they got to take their medicine one more year in the draft. And by the way, that's not a bad thing.
Is that truly taking their medicine? And as we see Christopher Beard here, he says, am I the only one saying Olu Fashanu at 4? Yeah, I feel like we have really strayed from, it's either Marvin or build the lines, right? And invest in the trenches, especially on the offensive side of the football. But, I think that this tackle group is proving to be deeper and I guess more steady.
It's elite.
From like you got the top 2 guys, right? It's Fashanu, it's Alt, and then you got the Pac-12 guys, and then you got an Ivy League guy, you got a BYU guy here, and you can go 10 deep. And I think that the margin, the difference between like the top guys and the guys near the back end of the top 10, I think it's closer in the tackle group than it is in the wide receiver group. I think you got 3 rock solid top prospects, top 10 guys in Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr., of course. And then you got the rest of the guys who are going to be really good players, but there's a distinct difference, especially when you're looking at like these are the wide receivers that are valued as premium players, guys that have the upside of being the Jettas, the Justin Jeffersons out there, the Devontae Adams type players. Like I know you can sometimes hit on those guys later, but like what we've seen recently is these wide receivers can immediately get drafted to Jamar Chase's and immediately make an impact on an offense and elevate it.
I love these tackles. Olu Fashanu is not my number one tackle. Like if they traded down and took him, I'd be doing cartwheels. He's a tremendous prospect. Joe Alt's fantastic. He's a top 5 player for me.
To what extent though? Like tell me what the draft is before you take Olu Fashanu and what it look and who's on the board.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Like Bucky Brooks had Malik Neighbors falling into the mid-teens today. So like, don't believe everything that you hear. I don't know. I can give you my opinion.
I desperately want to believe Bucky Brooks draft to an extent because he's got a big time player going to the Cardinals at 4.
I do. I don't know. I can only tell you one thing definitively that I'd be able to put my 401k on. The Cardinals' number 1 player on their board is Marvin Harrison Jr. and they would take him 4th overall. Outside of that, I can't they could have Joe Alt Malik Neighbors. I don't know that. And so all we can do is sit here and speculate and guess and look at these mock drafts. And if there is enough speculation and enough people saying that Malik Neighbors is a top 5 player, period, then I would hope Austin Ford comes to that conclusion as well. But I think they were very much not against the grain is the right term, ahead of the curve on Paris Johnson Jr. Paris Johnson Jr., they were going to take him 3rd overall over Will Anderson Jr. Like we know that. We have that source. They traded down. They got assets. They traded up to get him at 6. I think a lot of people still thought of Paris Johnson Jr. as maybe a fringe top 10 player last year. And that turned out it was the right decision. He was fantastic this year. Everybody had Tyree Wilson and, Christian Gonzalez and those guys fell and some of them fell for a reason. So it's January, but I think, again, am I ready to pivot from if it's not Marvin, it's going to be another receiver. It's not going to be a tackle. Like, no, I can't say that right now. But if I'm trusting the people who do this for a living and they're telling me Malik Neighbors is like 1 of 1 in every other class and he's a top 3 to 5 pick, then I would hope that the Cardinals can see that too.
Yeah. Everybody watching this video, we appreciate it if you drop a like. I see Danny Redbird's asking, are we the new Lions? And look, when I saw the PFF grades, and I know PFF grades are under fire and there's something that we sometimes are skeptical of, but like when I see, Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker put up these grades that are in the high 80s and 90s, and they're your bookend tackles, like that's appealing. That's really appealing.
It is.
But, so is what, Amon-Ra St. Brown did to put that game away and how the playmaking that he did in that final touchdown he scored and what he provided to Jared Goff. I know he's not a 1st-round pick, but the talent, what you see from a true number 1 on an NFL roster and what it does, it's it's tough. I mean, it really is tough in how you view it from a team building, perspective. I mean, you could go and take Fashion or whoever you decide is the top tackle, or you could take, if you don't get Marvin and you think what Brad Spielberger and Trevor Sikkema have told us, that Malik Neighbors is the top wide receiver in any other drafts. He's a wide receiver 1-2. You can go either direction and find success. Teams have done it.
Richard, $4.99 super chat. Richard, friend of the program, thank you so much. I want to know what free agents you guys think are realistic and would make this team way better. There's a lot. I mean, it's a cop-out answer, and I think it preaches to the state of their defense, Bo, but there's like 20 guys that could help this team. If you're talking about the most immediate impact, if Brian Burns or Josh Allen are allowed to hit the open market and the Cardinals are able to get a meeting and offer the most money, that's the biggest impact, because both of those guys you slide them in immediately and you are going to get double-digit sack productions on top of endless pressures and how Gannon and Nick Rallis will deploy them. That's the easiest answer for me, is one of the two elite pass rushers.
Well, we've been rolling out guys the last 2 weeks, right? We've done 4 defensive players and we've done 2 offensive players. Is that right?
Yeah.
And like the defensive guys, like you went Leonard Williams, you went Beef, right? You went Leonard Williams, you went Christian Wilkins. And it's going to be, are the Dolphins going to let Wilkins out of their grasp? Are they going to franchise tag him? Are they going to get him the bag? Leonard Williams, it looks like that's probably a relationship that's going to end in divorce, despite them, trading draft capital to get him up there in Seattle. But with the changes that going on, they just lost their OC. They blew, Pete Carroll out, and we'll see what
they're starting completely over.
Yeah, which is crazy that they're going in the year. They should be in the next phase of rebuild, and they're going to reset again. And then, I mean, I think I went with Jonathan Grenard, who's been getting after the passer all postseason, all season long for Texans. And most recently I went with Steven Nelson. I went with a pair of Texans. So I think that those are all really realistic options defensively. And then it comes down to what Johnny said, like how's a team going to view a player? Do they have the ability to tag them and then pay them that guaranteed money, especially at the edge position? Like there are a lot of teams, as good of a cap situation as the Cardinals are in. There's about a half dozen teams that are in cap hell, man, and they're going to really have to figure it out. And are they going to have the ability to give that much guaranteed money to some of these free agents?
I had some people messaging me about Fletcher Cox because it seems like he's set for a divorce, and I just kind of want to put this on the record. And people are connecting the dots because he was with JG for a couple of years. I got a text message from somebody I trust that said I would be shocked if that happens. And we've kind of alluded to their relationship, which was rocky at times. Fletcher Cox can be kind of a selfish dude, and Gannon's a team guy, egoless guy. They made it work at a high level. I mean, they went to a Super Bowl together. I'm told like that is not Gannon's preference at all. And I don't think Fletcher Cox is the kind of player at this stage of his career, a la Terrell Suggs 5 years ago or whatever that was, that you want to bring into a locker room with a bunch of impressionable young guys. Like Fletcher Cox should go and sign in Buffalo where they're ready to win a championship or something like that, or Miami, and have no state tax. Like the Cardinals, I feel confident, are not going to be in on Fletcher Cox this offseason.
Yeah. I love it. Bird Gang saying, Johnny, where'd you get that haircut, bro? You're looking sharp today.
Yeah. My guy Vinny took care of me. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody in the chat today. And if you appreciate some free bonus bucks, check our friends out at BetMGM. Bet 5, get 158 instantly. My Johnny parlay, it was Johnny Bust this weekend, thanks in part because of what went down in Buffalo yesterday. I was all in on the favorites, and Buffalo, well, they broke my heart more ways than one. Josh Allen, the anytime touchdown, that was money, but yeah. If you can't beat the Chiefs with all that going your way, Buffalo, it's probably never going to happen. But what's going to go your way with our friends at BetMGM? How about Bet 5, get 158 instantly with that bonus code PHNX? Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app or on your iOS or Android device. Visit BetMGM.com. Get a full screen view. I love that. Sign up and deposit at least $5 in your newly created account. Place a wager in the amount of $5 on standardized pricing. Then you're going to get, regardless of the outcome of your wager, $158 in bonus bets instantly. Perfect time to dabble with our friends at BetMGM ahead of the championship round this weekend. Of course, Detroit at Santa Clara to take on the Niners, Chiefs at Ravens. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to my guy, Damon Dog, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
I hear Damon Dog when he's talking to shorties at the bar. He's talking in that cadence. Talking that fast. Sweet talker, but he's got the Micro Machines cadence going on.
Wouldn't doubt it. Wouldn't doubt it.
Remember the 93 finals where the Bulls beat the Suns? That was rough, right?
Yeah.
It was rough. But now the Bulls suck at basketball and the Suns are heating up. They've won 5 straight. And you can get in the door tonight to watch the Suns host the Chicago Bulls for as low as $50. Game Time app. Look at this. You can get yourself into the Footprint Center tonight to watch the Bulls take on the Suns. You can go to Coyotes game tonight as well. It's last call. Why not see if you can find some tickets at the very last second with our friends over at Game Time. You can actually save on your first purchase $20 by using the promo code PHNX. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You're not going to see these big time fees. You're going to just get tickets to the game that you want, or concert or event that you want to see. You're not going to be bombarded by those fees. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that promo code PHNX for $20 off your tickets. Your first purchase, terms apply. Again, create that account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Go to the Suns game tonight. What are you doing? Go to the Coyotes game for the lowest price guaranteed.
We teased it. Cardinals picking 27th overall. That means their first 3 rounds of picks, they are locked and secure, baby. Let's check them out. Cardinals, of course, 4th overall in round 1, hopefully with the man to the right, Marvin Harrison Jr. And then they've got 27 via Houston. Again, the first 3 rounds are locked and ready to go. Pick 35, that is set. Of course, coming from their own pick 66. Then we've got, of course, the 71st pick coming from our friends in Tennessee. Cardinals traded back last year, so Titans could come up in the second round to take Will Levis. How'd that work out? 90th overall, Houston, which is not as depressing as 27. It's pretty depressing, though. So if you count them at home, that's 6 picks in the top 90 in the first 3 rounds. Everything else after the fact, rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7 are subject to compensatory pushdowns. I think 104. No, it's not safe because there's going to be comp picks at the end of the 3rd. The Cardinals, sadly, I don't think they're getting any comp picks this year. Don't ask me how those work over the cap. They've got that charted, Bo. But for the sake of this conversation, 4th, 27, 35, 66, 71st, and 90 ready to go for draft weekend. Get the picks in now. Might as well.
Yeah, double-digit picks for sure. That's happening. I mean, you're just gonna, you can debate, whether it's gonna be 11 or 13 or whatever. It's double digits, and it's gonna be an infusion of young talent coming in, and it's gonna be coming in the first 3 rounds of this NFL draft. Where Monty Ossenfort's shown the ability to find starter caliber players. 4th, 27th, 35th, 66th, 71st, 90th. You're all starters. Come on in. Welcome to the starting lineup,
friends.
Let's make an impact. You gotta love it. I mean, Monty Ossenfort, that was his number 1 assignment last season. Was obviously cleaning up just the absolute catastrophe that Steve Keim left this roster in, and then getting the cap in good working order, and he did. And then you've got yourself a ton of draft capital to really reshape and become that draft and develop team that Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenfort spoke of. Back, it seemed like lore and myth, but they've spoken into fruition. And it's happening here in the desert as early as this offseason. It's great. Damon is a villain on Twitter. He absolutely is, and he loves to play that role.
And we encourage him to do so. He's a sweetheart when you meet him in person, though. Such a sweetie. So you look at those picks, and it's like, well, how would those picks be spent? You want to talk about some notable mock drafts that landed on the interweb streets today, Bo Brock?
Yeah, let's do it. Actually, some prominent names. You mentioned one. Bucky Brooks dropped his 1.0. And then the Draft Network up and running. Look at these. So Bucky Brooks has Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Cardinals at 4. These are just a couple of his highlights. Roman Dunze going to the Giants at 6. And then the Rams later in the first round taking Bo Nix, apparently.
Wow.
And then you've got this Draft Network drafts. Caleb 1, Drake May 2, Jayden Daniels 3. It's music. Sweet, sweet music. Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 to the Cardinals. Roma Dunze, 5 to the Chargers. Malik Neighbors, 6 to the Giants. So this is pretty much the exact carbon copy of what Daniel Jeremiah did earlier or last week. Olu Fashanu to the Titans. Latu, the pass rusher out of UCLA, to the Falcons. Brock Bowers, number 9 to the Bears. Why would they do that? I don't know. And then you got Joe Alt going to the Jets at 10. So they want Brock Bowers and Cole Kmet. That threw me for a loop. But the most important thing here is, he's a very knowledgeable, we'll call them draft experts, just can't get away from quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3 in this draft.
Jayden Daniels, build the statue. Build the statue. He and Matt Prater side by side. If this happens, it's because Jayden Daniels made it happen.
Like clasping hands in the air. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because here's the thing. Caleb's going first overall. The Bears hired their offensive coordinator. He's coming from Seattle. Actually did a nice job in Seattle, I thought. I thought they always overachieve with Geno Smith. Justin Fields is going to be gone. I don't really know or care where he goes. And so they're going to take Caleb first overall. And then, Washington, if they even entertain Jayden Daniels, Drake May is highly thought of without 32 teams. People this podcast isn't anti-Drake May, but we understand he's talented enough to be a top 5 quarterback. We have question marks about him. There is no reality in which Drake May is not going top 3. But if Jayden Daniels somehow goes to the Commanders, let's say they hire a head coach that wants that style of play from their quarterback, a guy who can move, a guy who is electric. Everybody, if you just take away the names and the reputations, the best quarterback tape this year came from Jayden Daniels. Didn't come from Caleb Williams. Didn't come from Drake May. So if that's the case, if you're New England, you're sitting there and you're like, I can get Drake May or Jayden Daniels. There's no scenario in which I'm not doing that if I'm New England, because the Commanders are going QB. There's articles coming out. Mac Jones has been poisoned to that locker room. People were upset Mac Jones showed up to the Belichick end of the year goodbye presser. They don't want to be around him. Yeah. And I think there's a good chance Mac Jones just gets outright released. You're not rolling with Bailey Zappi. I don't think any competent, free agent quarterback with options is going to go there with no weapons in that brutal division. It is laying out nicely, barring something unforeseen. Jayden Daniels really helping the Cardinals secure their number 1 receiver at 4.
Well, especially with him being there now. We talk about this, or I've talked about this, the Anthony Richardson rise last offseason. It really had to kind of materialize during the pre-draft process, right? He had to have his pro day. It really happened in the combine. Jayden Daniels is already there. And as you said, the tape is there. Where Drake May he can lose a lot. He lost himself a lot by losing to Virginia, not showing up very well against NC State, not exactly, the powers of the Power 5 conferences at all. And he put forth, really mid tape, and he fell back, from an outstanding, first season at the helm of the Carolina Tar Heels, where he had 37 touchdowns, took care of the football, where he had 24 touchdowns and 9 picks. And he made some real questionable moves and ducked out of the pocket way too early. Where you see Jayden Daniels, he's out there and he's putting up week in and week out against the SEC spectacular tape. And they see this, tall and already put on some weight, but could stand to put on more weight, athletic build, and he's already been uber productive in the SEC, the Heisman Trophy winner, and turned 2 wide receivers into top caliber wideouts in Thomas and Neighbors. You can make a case, and Mel Kiper is going to do it tomorrow. His mock draft's finally going to drop. He's got Jayden Daniels as the second quarterback off the board, and then Drake May right there to go be Mac Jones 2.0 potentially in New England.
Well, he's more gifted than Mac Jones, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Who's helping Jayden Daniels directly or indirectly? The MVP of the NFL in Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson, who I think is going to go to the Super Bowl this year and potentially win the Super Bowl. And I think Jayden Daniels is a more polished thrower of the football than Lamar was coming out of Louisville. But you can't tell me you don't watch Jayden Daniels and say, there's some Lamar here. There's some Josh Allen-esque traits that you just can't coach. Guess what? That's what's worth a top 5 pick on a quarterback. You think about it. Why was Kyler Murray picked first overall? Special abilities. If you want, Jared Goff was kind of the last of a dying breed where it's first player overall, traditional pocket passer. Since then, it's you got to be a gifted thrower of the football plus. What are your additional traits? Are you big? Are you fast? Super athletic? even with Drake May and our skeptics toward him, like he can move. He's got a big arm. Like he's put together. He's 6'4". Like his defenders love him and say he comps to Justin Herbert. So, and then you put obviously stack that up against Caleb Williams, who's generational. It's like 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. Every one of them, you ought to be able, if you're the Commanders, the Bears, the Patriots, of course, talk yourself into any of them, given especially what you have at the position. Like the Bears are in a unique position where if they were picking 2 or 3, like would they really entertain those two? That remains to be seen. The Commanders and the Patriots have nothing. They have nothing to build off of at the quarterback position, especially the Patriots. Like Sam Howell is at least competent enough to be on a roster. I don't think the Patriots have NFL caliber QBs on the roster. You talk about the Cardinals defensive line not being NFL caliber. That's what the Patriots QB room looks like. So it is played exactly into Austin Ford's hand if Marvin Harrison Jr. makes it to 4. Should he make it to 4?
I mean, it's the logic. It's kind of the consensus logic that's going around, right? I mean, there's a few outliers that want to say that the Patriots they're going to take the top player on the board regardless of position. And then we got this today, Damon Dog. We got Gerard Mayo going and wheeling and dealing, shooting from the hip on WEEI, talking about roster building. He says, quote, "We're going to take the best available player for the biggest need on the team. Offensive line, receiver, quarterback, pick your choice." But to Johnny's point, when he's been really hammering home, I mean, the biggest need is quarterback. It's the biggest need. He also said that they're going to spend tons of money in free agency. And it's like, yeah, good plan. You don't even have a GM in place, and you guys are thinking about really just throwing money at holes. We've seen how that works out. It doesn't work out. It's usually fool's gold in free agency. But there's your draft kind of and I know this is you got to take it with a grain of salt that a coach is going to come out and tell you their full out strategy. And guy tried to throw up murky the waters with 3 positions here, but I mean, it's got to be quarterback. And I think recency bias as far as the 3rd quarterback off the board, like Herbert was the 3rd quarterback off the board in his draft. Like, I think trying to decipher tape and see how what's going to translate, what skill set's going to translate to the next level it's an inexact science, right? And it goes off based off what your scouts believe, but sometimes it's been wrong as far as how you have the quarterbacks lined up. And that, if you believe it's a 3-deep quarterback draft, which many people believe, talent evaluators believe, then that's probably in some, 1, 2, and 3 with Caleb being 1 and the other 2, you figure it out. It's going to go down that way for 3 really quarterback hungry teams at the top of the draft.
Josh Allen was the 3rd quarterback off the board. Lamar Jackson was number 5. I mean, just teams get it wrong all the time. Like most teams have Caleb Williams number 1. Like the Bears, that's not a tough decision. It'll be tough for the Commanders. Like I saw somebody in the chat, like what happens if the Commanders take Jayden Daniels? The Patriots, I believe, will unequivocally take Drake May. Like they've watched enough of his tape. Plus, he's an East Coast guy, big arm. You can get to the divisional round in the NFC with Baker Mayfield. We saw it happen. You can get to the Super Bowl potentially with Brock Purdy. In the AFC, go look at the quarterbacks that are winning in the AFC. They're all first-round picks. Tua, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. If you don't have one, guess what? You're getting fired. So if Gerard Mayo and the plan in New England is we can beef up this roster and then we can go sign a veteran QB, right, you're going to get fired. That's what the Jimmy Garoppolo-led Las Vegas Raiders did. That's what got Mike Vrabel fired in Tennessee. Like, unless you're Shane Steichen and you play in a bad division and you have Gardner Minshew on a 500 team, like you need CJ Stroud to elevate you. Guess where he was drafted? 2nd overall. You can screw around in the NFC if you got a loaded roster, just in this point in time in history. Then you've got 1st overall picks underachieving like Trevor Lawrence, but you still have to face Trevor Lawrence. So even the bad teams have number 1 picks at quarterback. If you don't, and you go cheap at that position, and you become the Patriots have become unwatchable. That's why Belichick is gone.
Yeah.
I'm trying to convince everybody out there that this is happening. Like the Patriots, I'm sure have already convinced themselves that this position's a disaster.
Are you as confident as Pedro here?
What's
Marvin's
Pedro?
Cardinal, I ain't even sweating it.
I would say probably like 65-35.
Can you imagine?
But here's the unknown. The unknown is does somebody screw up in the next 3 months? Like Will Levis was talented enough to be a first round pick, and he became really unlikable during the draft process and turned people off. Like that happens. Like what if Drake May says
But I don't
something?
think Will Levis had enough. I don't think he had gained as much pre-draft
No, he didn't,
traction. Like
for sure.
Drake May's been there since his season last year, where Will Levis is like, hey, should we buy into this Kentucky quarterback? Like, and he was okay. His numbers weren't that great in his final season
Like
for the
Kenny
Wildcats.
Pickett and Malik Willis, those guys we tried to tout up.
Yeah.
And then people in the draft circles were like, they do not have the physical traits and attributes to be a franchise quarterback. And they're right.
Yeah. But are we? I just am so hesitant, and maybe it's because I feel like maybe we just don't deserve nice things. But Maserati Marv, like, is it? Could it actually happen? Is it gonna? Are our dreams gonna come true?
Is because of Matt Prater. That's it. If Matt Prater makes that field goal, there is 0% chance.
He's a sweet man. I'm gonna send him an edible arrangements or something, just thanking him for his sacrifice. He thought he had to miss one kick. And they put his ass in two times he had to miss.
Hey,
from
no
spots
one cares about that.
He's usually they put it in his favorite spot on the field. And he missed.
Here's all. Nobody cares about that pick now when these mock drafts are flowing, baby. Richard, $4.99 super chat. Can you see Joe Alt moving to 3rd overall? New England likes to move down. I think there's a better chance New England moves down than taking Alt 3rd overall. I think if New England is like,
that's also true for Marv. I think that there's a better likelihood that they trade down for more assets than sticking and picking and taking Marv or Alt or I think it's quarterback, trade down, then probably Marv, and then you look at the tackles.
The only scary scenario is Bears coming up from 9 to 3 for Marvin Harrison Jr. because that strikes me as a deal like polls would entertain. We need to get to a point where these quarterbacks force the issue enough that the Patriots are like, you cannot get me out of this spot because this is where I'm going to get my franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Like there's no amount of picks you can give me because other people, other organizations would give up these assets to come up and take this quarterback. So I need to stick and pick.
Right. Just want to address something in the chat. Bizarro saying the Cards offense looked like a disaster against the Eagles in the first half. It was. I mean, they were moving the football. They didn't look disastrous. I mean, they didn't execute in the red zone, and then once they did, they went 4-4 in the second half. I see a lot of Bizarro in the chat saying like Petzing's not the guy. Petzing had to get 4 quarterbacks ready to play, and 3 of them have really no reason being in the NFL. You had Colt McCoy, you had Joshua Dobbs who came in off like 0 notice, and then you had Clayton Tune. And then Kyler Murray coming off and playing a style that he's never played in his football career ever, coming off a significant injury. And we want to talk in nitpick numbers where, I mean, if you watch the last 2 games offensively, this team was trending in the right direction. I mean, to try to make a decision on Drew Petzing is an unfair decision. Like, and to sit there and go, oh, well, look at what, the Bucs are doing with a solid offensive line and playmakers from the running back to the wide receiver position. They've got 2 number ones arguably on that team. I just think that that's a bit unfair.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in the reality in which Baker Mayfield played well, but he went to a division that was historically bad.
Yeah.
And they got a couple of good breaks. They beat the Eagles team that the Cardinals just beat, by the way. And then they lost to Detroit. Baharo, the Cardinals are prepared for Drew Petzing to maybe leave next year as a head coach. That's how highly thought of he is within the Cardinals organization. Like the Cardinals offense with Kyler Murray was top 10 in the NFL. And Kyler Murray, if you project it out, even with how slow he started at times, was going to be 30 touchdowns, total touchdowns, and had a 2-to-1 touchdown and interception ratio as a thrower of the football. And I love Greg Dortch. With Greg Dortch as the number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
And no Hollywood Brown. Like I think let's give Kyler Murray the benefit of an entire offseason healthy with some new receivers and Michael Wilson and Trey McBride. I think it's easy to see why, especially with a 4th place schedule, like people are bullish on this team. The tweaks offensively. Wholesale changes, yes, on defense.
We got a second Boston Fort in the chat. I love it. We're just seeing Boston Forts emerge all over this avatar. There's a true original OG Boston Fort, right? And he's got the red item avatar, but this one's solid here. Let's check it out. $6.99. If Mayo thinks the plan is Russell Wilson and MHJ, then yes, Gerard, I would like a bag for my groceries. That's because he's going to be bagging groceries. No doubt about it.
I think Gerard Mayo understands the severity of if you don't have a rookie or a young quarterback to tie your wagon to, it's very tough to compete in the NFL and to get you to where you want to be. Like if they're trying to be splashing free agency every offseason, guess what you need? You need a cheap rookie quarterback deal. Why would you, if you're Gerard Mayo, when you have options, tie yourself to a veteran that failed elsewhere?
Yeah.
You wouldn't. And also, I saw something that was interesting, Bo, that I didn't put two and two together. Kirk Cousins is not going to be healthy until mid-season next year. He's on the Kyler Murray recovery timeline.
Yeah. He's not on the Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I saw a lot of people saying, well, he's going to go to New England. No, he's not. They wouldn't have him until late October, early November. That's not a plan for them. So if you remove him, is Ryan Tannehill enough for you not to draft a quarterback? Of course not. I don't think Russell Wilson is. I don't think Russell Wilson wants to play in the cold weather. I think Russell Wilson with Belichick in Atlanta is interesting, or to somebody in the NFC that he can play in nice weather. But who is going willingly? Who has options to New England to play quarterback this offseason? I can't think of one person.
Right. Well, I think people who have the ability to go out, it's going to be somebody who's doesn't have any options, right? If their market dries up and nobody's
I'm going to look up the free agent quarterbacks while you're saying this.
Well, I also like this Fishbowl Flash, and I think this is a great idea. We should do it starting later this week. Question: can we see Johnny mock draft trash compared to a Bo mock draft, which is gold, compared to a Damon Dog mock? I'd love to.
I love it.
We always are just too busy talking and puffing our chest out. I want to see a Damon Dog mock draft. We should just have a battle of the mock draft.
I'll rock your world, though.
You'll mock my world. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I like that for a segment. You mock my world. Let's do it.
I think, we should just do that. We'll dedicate a segment to it. We'll just roll through it and do about a 3-round mock, and or do you want to do it pre-show and then just pit it up against each other?
Yeah, I think we'll do
without the names.
Yeah.
And then
that'll be easy to telegraph.
Yeah, who you go wide receiver the first 3 picks.
I can already tell right now that Johnny's going to be like, well, the board didn't play out the way that it was supposed to.
Well, you should probably have the same scenarios, right? Or do we want different scenarios?
Same scenario.
Okay.
And we can't force trades and that kind of thing.
No.
I've been known to force a trade or two. All right, here are free agent QBs. You guys hang on to your hats for this one.
Okay.
The number one free agent quarterback is Kirk Cousins. He's not available. Now there's an asterisk. Russell Wilson will be number one when he's released.
Mm-hmm.
So Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, Jacoby Brissett, who could be a Cardinal, Tyrod Taylor, Marcus Mariota, Sam Darnold, Jameis Winston, Drew Lock, Baker Mayfield's on this list, Gardner Minshew, Teddy Bridgewater, Joshua Dobbs, Joe Flacco.
Barf.
Is there any player on that list where you're the Patriots and you can sign a quarterback to a multi-year deal and say, we're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. 3rd overall?
To your point, it would be franchise-wide, it'd be irresponsible. And whoever the decision makers are, they could say till they're blue in the face, the Patriot way. It's like they should be thrown in the ocean.
The Josh Allen way is what's winning. And say what you want about the Jets. Rodgers is playing next year. They're going to have Rodgers at least for a year. Mm-hmm. Tua is limited, but he's making the playoffs. And Josh Allen's Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And your conference is loaded.
Who else is available? So Fields would be available for a trade. Who else?
They're bringing in Kenny Pickett competition in Pittsburgh. That's not an option for New England. I would say, oh man, of quarterbacks who could get dealt. I maybe Desmond Ridder in Atlanta, backups. Yeah. I mean, Geno Smith could be maybe the Seahawks roll with Geno. Maybe they cut him. They roll with Drew Lock in a draft pick. Minshew, according to Minshew in New England, I think is not with Minshew's arm. Minshew's perfect for a dome team as a bridge guy. New England is like Buffalo, that. You need a big arm quarterback. May would be perfect in New England. Perfect.
Make it so. Give it to me. That's what I want. That's what I want to see.
You get what you want with our mock drafts. You're also going to get what you want with our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, which is the official credit union of not only the Venerable household, but you guessed it, the Arizona Cardinals. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicating to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing solutions financially that they make life better, folks. So they're expertly crafted team who are committed to their members and the community, offering financial solutions tailored to help real people like you, like me, achieve their financial goals and dreams. Check them out for things like checking accounts, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit card investment options, and more. I was with my old credit union for far too long, finally pivoted, will never go back. Plus, I represent the Red Sea with the Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Show your team spirit today. Open up a free checking account online. Just takes a couple of minutes. Get an Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card today. Check them out, desertfinancial.com/CardinalsBo to get started.
Tough to beat what they're doing over at Desert Financial. Also, when that gas light comes on, just swing into your nearby Circle K. And of course, you got to become a part of their free membership program. Become a member of the Inner Circle Rewards. Download it on the Circle K app today. It's America's Thirst Shop. It's free, new free membership program. Did I say it's free? I think about 1,000 times. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Your sixth, you get a free selection of Circle K products, from their pizza, the coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, those delicious Polar Pops, and you get 3 cents per gallon after that every day. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield look good in the divisional round, albeit in a loss, Bo Brock. Everybody drop a like on this video, by the way. Did you watch the divisional round, specifically in the NFC, and say, like, I think Kyler Murray can play on this level? I think Kyler Murray with the right roster can get to, dare I say, an NFC championship game? Because I did. I watched what I saw this weekend and thought, why isn't Kyler Murray in this round of the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed. I've been way more impressed than I initially was with Jordan Love down the stretch. I thought he made a lot of plays that only a few quarterbacks can make. Baker Mayfield, when taking care of the football, and he did for the most part outside of the final play in regulation, or that sank the Bucs, he did a decent job and, put up some big gaudy stats. I think he went over 300 yards passing in both the playoff games for the Bucs.
Yeah.
And then Jared Goff has been really, really rock solid. And I mean, I really wasn't that impressed by Brock Purdy at all.
No.
Like, I thought he missed on a bunch of throws. So yeah, there is opportunity. But look, I mean, these teams, these rosters are in really good shape. Like a real testament to Jason Light down there in Tampa Bay and getting them set up defensively and the playmakers that they have. And you look at what they've done in Detroit and in Green Bay, really is an impressive organization that took a lot of flack during the end of the Rodgers tenure. And then you see Jordan Love in the same position and finding success. It's these organizations have set themselves up to be consistently in it. And when they put a competent quarterback back there that takes care of the football, but also can make most of the throws, man, does it can take a team that's 9-8 in the Bucs, and they can be a play away from going to the NFC Championship game. It really is incredible.
Trinell in the chat, divisional round showed me Brock Purdy is close to just a guy with a lot of talent around him as opposed to a game changer. Yeah, I mean, the 49er roster, and give them credit, especially offensively, because I think the defense has regressed to some degree. The offensive personnel, when it's healthy, is the best collection of talent that I think we've seen in 10 plus years. McCaffrey's the best running back. Debo and Ayuk are 1A and 1B. Kittle's a Hall of Famer. Trent Williams is the best left tackle in the NFL. And Kyle Shanahan's a master play caller. So, given all that, you need somebody that like Purdy, who's cheap and efficient. And I unfortunately think he's going to play better next weekend against Detroit, because it's not going to be inclement weather. But I'm right there with you. That's why that game was so pivotal. San Francisco, there is a window. Say what you want about Purdy making no money. There's a window on Christian McCaffrey, staying healthy, being efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Same with George Kittle. Even now we see with Debo Samuel. Trent Williams is being asked about retirement. There is a window for the 49ers to win a championship because of everything else around Brock Purdy. So as much as I would love to have seen them fall against the Packers got to feel good because they're the youngest team in the NFL. The Cardinals feel good because they played the most rookies, and Kyler Murray's in his mid-20s. Every situation is not apples to oranges, but I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy may have torn up the Cardinals in both outings. We know what the Cardinals were sporting defensively. What happened when he faced Baltimore? What happens when he faces premium defensive, personnel? He struggles because he's a pretty average athlete.
Right. I mean, look, those mortgage payments on some of the players that they've already locked in and going out there and getting the Hargrave in free agency and throwing 80+ million at them. And I don't know how much is guaranteed, but like the Niners they're in the red right now as far as going into the 2024 offseason in cap space. Now they can quickly make up some ground there, but they're going to have to probably part ways with some of their, talented players. They're nearly $3 million over the cap as it stands going into 2024 offseason. So they've got some decisions to start making. The Seahawks right behind them, they're 4 million, almost 5 million over the cap, where the Cardinals, they're in the top 10 in expected space, and they haven't even factored in the rollover money that they're going to get.
The release of DJ Humphries and some other guys.
Yeah. And then you got the Rams, like almost 20 million less than what the Cardinals have, if not more, as they make those easy kind of layup moves to get space. So Cardinals in a really good position to really kind of narrow the gap between them and the rest of the division this offseason. But yeah, I agree, man. I think that the window isn't as wide open as people believe with this Niners team. And it happens you see a young, talented team, it feels like every year in the NFL. And you're like, man, this is just the start of something special. In a cap league, and especially when you have to start paying guys, it closes really quick if you don't make the right decisions. And if you miss on, like they have at the quarterback position and where they felt like they missed with Kinlaw, where they had to go get Hargrave and then they had to pay Bosa, it becomes tougher and tougher each and every season.
Alex 999, well said. The difference with Kyler this year was when the play started to break down, he wasn't jittery or hesitant. Looked the calmest he's ever been with less talent around him. I think this is the first time he's had competent NFL coaching on offense. I mean, respectfully with Cliff Kingsbury, the play would break down and Kyler Murray would be forced to improvise in the prior scheme. The play breaks down this year and they coach to that. Second, third tier options, Kyler Murray, I fully believe this, regardless if it's Marvin or Malik Neighbors or Joe Alder, whomever. Kyler Murray, if he stays healthy, is going to have his most efficient NFL season in 2024. I think that's the easiest thing for me to telegraph for this team. There is no scenario in which if Kyler Murray plays 17 games, and that's the biggest question mark, I fully admit that, he is going to be efficient and the team is going to have a winning record. We saw at the end of the year, he almost was 500. He should have been with a roster, the caliber of the Cardinals, struggling like it was, with the hardest strength of schedule in the NFL that he faced. So I wouldn't bet against him. I'll put a statistic out there. I'll put a stat line. I think he has like 40 total touchdowns next year, passing and rushing.
What? That's an MVP season. That's an MVP season. If he has like a Jordan Love season, sign me up for it.
What Jordan Love passed for over 30 touchdowns.
Yeah,
and a couple
32
rushing.
touchdowns. I think 11 picks. I think Kyler can take a little bit better care of the football. That's a good. I need to see that year before I start saying, "Hey, 40 total tutties." That's a monster. That's an absolute monster.
But you're saying how many rushing touchdowns did Jordan Love have? Jordan Love. Let me look it up. Jordan Love.
I bet Kyler had what, 3 in his
40 touchdowns is what Josh Allen did this year.
Yeah, that's a monster year.
Okay, so Jordan Love, you're right. He had 32 passing touchdowns this year. Passing, rushing touchdowns, he had 4. So Jordan Love had 36. Jordan Love had 36.
Yeah, that's wild.
And you're saying Kyler Murray couldn't have 40? Of course he could.
Well, I want to see that. I want to see that part
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And Love had the benefit of that. He had the benefit of solid drafting, those players developing, him really turning some
great
of these guys.
Coach. LaFleur is big time. He's a big time coach.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, that's some gaudy numbers. Like that would be, and I think we've seen with Kyler, like he already basically went 4-4 since returning. And what did the Packers go? They go 9-8.
Yeah.
Tampa went 9-8.
Situation.
It's like all you need is a ticket to the dance, right? And
29-year-old running back Aaron Jones, 29-year-old running back James Conner.
Mm-hmm.
How about it? Let's do it. let's do all the comps next year. I'm down. I will not settle down, Junior. I think 40 touchdowns is very obtainable. If they had Marvin Harrison Jr. and it's Marvin and Michael Wilson and Trey McBride and Greg Dortch and maybe a mid-round receiver and James Conner, let's go. I'm ready. 40 touchdowns. But I'll put my money where my mouth is when those props become available. You guys right now available to become a diehard at GoPHNX.com. We mentioned it last week, a big hit, the inaugural Q&A, myself, Bo Brack, every single Thursday afternoon following the show. Post-show, Thursday night, myself and Bo Brack and Damon Dog. Live Q&A in our exclusive PHNX Cardinals member Discord, Bo, that you can only have access to if you are a diehard. Come off of mute, ask a question, put some funny, snarky stuff in the chat. We're going to read it all. We're going to do it all this Thursday again, post-show. And again, it's not only the Discord, it's all the access you're going to get at GoPHNX.com. Craig Morgan, Jesse Friedman, Gerald Bourguet, Suns are cooking right now. You can cook with a free hat and or shirt from the PHNX merchandise locker upon sign up. So again, you sign up for the year, diehard membership, get your free piece of merch, come in, chat it up on the Discord. You will not be sorry, Bo, that you did.
You can get yourself also just at the PHNX locker. You can become a hoodie bro with Johnny and myself. You can show up on Monday wearing the same hoodie. You can be like Hoodie Rollis, calling plays. Look at this. Johnny, don't cover up that fresh new haircut that you have going on right now. Oh man, it's tomorrow, the Mel Kiper draft. It's gonna release. I got a sneaking suspicion that one Ohio State wide receiver is going to be an Arizona Cardinal in his mock draft. It's going to follow suit to these other mock drafts that we looked at today from Bucky Brooks and the Draft Network. It continues tomorrow. Plus, the return of Monty mock draft as well. Monty Austinfort, the Boston Fort, will be back in here. That's right. A little less hair on top of these heads tomorrow from the trio. And so much more tomorrow with whatever the breaking news is around town. Maybe some more coaching carousel news comes out and how it will impact the Arizona Cardinals. The fun never stops. As Johnny mentioned, the member Discord, with the only way to get access to it, becoming a diehard today, go PHNX.com. For award-winning producer Damon Dog, for Johnny Venerable, I'm Bo Brock. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you Tuesday.
We all silly like the mayor.